This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and Rev Bill McDonald, happy Thanksgiving to you.
It's always a happy Thanksgiving, even when it's not Thanksgiving officially. I try to lead my life in Thanksgiving.
And let's talk about that. Let's focus on gratitude today.
Because most people, especially when people are in trouble, they contact me. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough health. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I lack. That's what they're saying. Nobody loves me. I can't make rent, whatever it is. So they focus on what they don't have. Now, the thing about true Thanksgiving is not a meal and it's not going shopping. That's the outer world. That's like saying Christmas is about getting gifts. It's not about that. But Thanksgiving, it's interesting that in all the countries in the world, America's and Canada now, they have a Thanksgiving different day, but they have a Canada. But the two of I don't know if there's any other countries out there, but it's really rare for a country to set aside a national holiday. Think about this, just for the purpose of giving thanks. It's not about the pilgrims and landing on Plymouth Rock and all that story. It's really beyond that. It's much bigger than that. It's really about appreciating and having gratitude for everything in your life, and to take a day, a time, and gather together as a family with your friends. A lot of people don't have family. They gather with their friends and neighbors. It's all good. Whoever you gather with, that's your family for the day. It's all right. So I tell people, Thanksgiving is not a date on the calendar. Thanksgiving is a tattoo on your heart. It says, I love, I appreciate, all is good. I'm thankful. And I can think back to when I was young in my family. My stepdad was out of work for 6 months in the 1950s. It was bad. And we were going to a Pentecostal church back then, believe it or not, and Assembly of God, I think it was. And we would go there, and every week in Sunday school, I would just say, can you put my family on prayer list? You know, my stepdad's out of a job. I said that for 6 months. Nothing happened. I mean, Thanksgiving week, it's like the weekend before Thanksgiving. We have not one can of food in the house. Nothing in the refrigerator. Zilch. Nothing in the refrigerator. No bread. Absolutely ran out of every morsel in the house. Nothing. And yet my mother was like, well, don't worry about it. Something will happen. No, it's Thanksgiving. No, something will happen. 20 minutes later, a couple church people show up with boxes. I mean, boxes of food. You know, all the trimmings of the typical Thanksgiving dinner and stuff for, the week afterwards. So there's like a week's worth of food plus a fantastic dinner. And I remember that, and I'm going, all the times that people donate food and everything, and you donate to some family or you donate it to a food bank, and you don't see the real joy of the children on the receiving end. I mean, I was like, God heard my prayers. That's the only thing I can think of. God heard my prayers. Here it is, right? It didn't matter. But what really mattered was I felt the universe had given me something. And so no matter how bad Thanksgiving was in Vietnam, didn't matter how bad Thanksgiving was, I come back from Vietnam. I'm coming back. Thanksgiving, I leave San Francisco. I'm on the road. I pick up a hitchhiker in Texas. I'm on my way to Fort Benning, Georgia. It's Thanksgiving Day. I go, where are you going? He says, I'm out of work. I've been trying to hitchhike around the country, trying to find a job, trying to get back to my family in Florida or someplace, Atlanta, I don't know. And I said, when's the last time you eat? And he says, it's been a couple of days. I said, it's Thanksgiving. We pulled into a greasy diner off Route 66 or whatever road we were on, whatever it was. And we go in there, and I tried to order. There was no turkey. There was no nothing. And I look at him, I said, does it matter what you have? And he says, doesn't. He says, closest thing you got to turkey. He says, how about chicken? I said, well, I don't really eat chicken, but that's okay. For this guy, I'm going to eat chicken, right? So we had chicken and biscuits and the gravy and the whole thing. And me and this guy spent 2 hours in the restaurant having Thanksgiving dinner. It was just me and him in the world. Me coming back wounded and not really in a great place emotionally from the war. Him unemployed, trying to get back to his family. And for 2 hours, we were family. And so I remember that. I said, it's not what is happening in particular. It's really a matter of who in spirit you're with. And to me, it was all the same spirit. Now, when I was really young, we were living in Oregon. And I kind of look at, this is not your typical Thanksgiving story because it happened before Thanksgiving, just before. And we were poor. We didn't have much. So it wasn't a matter of getting food or nourishment, but this was a life or death situation. I had this fascination growing up I was like 4 years old. I had this fascination growing up with walking on fire. I mean, where that came from, I don't know. But we had this trash fire. We lived in this housing project that used to be military housing or something, dependence homes. It was abandoned. We took the boards off the windows and moved into this abandoned building. And all the people were moved into this abandoned building. It was really poor. But we had a trash fire, and all the kids would be hanging around this trash fire, little kids. And I decided, I'm going to walk through fire. Not hot coals or, low, wood. We're talking trash burning. We're talking, I'm about 4 foot tall or less, right? And we're talking flames that are about yardstick high, 3 feet high, flames coming up. I'm going to walk through that because I can walk through fire. So everybody's looking at me like I'm a crazy kid. I walk through the fire. And of course, my pants, my shirt, underwear, socks, shoes, everything catches on fire. I'm ablaze. And what do? The worst thing you could possibly do. I go running through all these housing, running like a ball of fire, making the fire go greater. Right? I was like, picture a marshmallow on a stick, right? When it catches on fire. That was like me. And this woman who never saw living there before or since, she comes running from behind some porch, not even from inside of a house, tackles me like you're supposed to do now. Now they teach you drop and roll. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a teaching back then, right? That wasn't a thing that I know of. She comes out and tackles me. I'm on fire. She takes her hands and she pats me down and rolls me over the dirt. I could see she burned hands. She was getting her hands and her clothes burnt, putting me out. I mean, I was blaze. And I'm just crying like crazy. One time in my life, I really cried. I was really crying. Picture your whole body burnt. I mean, the whole body was burnt to some degree, whatever. And then at the foot, I still got a big scar where it was cooked. It actually cooked. The meat is cooked. A big, about the size of that big round circle where it actually cooked the meat. And then all around, I was burnt all over. And then she knocks on my mother's door and she has me cradled with the smoldering, smoky rags I got left. Clothes were all gone. She goes, "Here's your son." And my mother, oh yeah. She brings me in. I was never taken to a doctor. Nothing. I go, I was in so much pain. Anyway, next day, couldn't find a lady to thank her. Nobody knows who she was. Nobody knows where she came from, what she was doing there. Did she live there? Was she visiting? But I remember the kindness and the swift, intelligent attention to taking care of saving my life. I realized that day that whoever she was, whether it's reality or not, she was my guardian angel that day. And if it hadn't been for her, I'd been scarred for life, the face and everything else. I'm talking flames all the way up my face and everywhere. I mean, picture all your clothes on fire, hair singed. And so when Thanksgiving rolls around for me, I remember that. I remember the dinner, with the guy. Except we had it at lunch, and it wasn't turkey. It was whatever we could get there. And I remember getting the food from the church And then I remember this angel, and I'm going, well, you know what? I'm grateful for all that happened in my life. Grateful for being poor. Grateful for catching on fire. Grateful for all that. And I'm sure that there's some man now that's my age someplace that enjoyed that meal with me. My hope that would please me would be that one Thanksgiving Day he remembers the meal I bought for him. And because I remember the friendship that he gave me. I was totally alone, and I was lonely going to a new fort, being away from my family for another Thanksgiving. So for me, it was a big deal. I needed somebody, and he needed somebody. And sometimes that's all it takes. Is two people reaching out saying, I want to give love, I want to be loved. And then good things happen. So if you're having Thanksgiving with your family, I don't care if it's one of your parents or both your parents, or you got step parents, or you're adopted. If you got any kind of family, even if the family are the people that you chose and invited to your house yourself, and none of them share your blood DNA with you, it's family. It's all cool. And if you got a day where you could share a meal with somebody, that's the greatest day in the world. And it doesn't matter, because I've been poor enough where a can of beans and some eggs, that was a Thanksgiving dinner. It didn't matter. It's not the meal. It's who you share it with. And if you always picture Jesus or God at your dinner table, and you're always breaking bread with him, then that's a lot to be grateful for. So be grateful, be thankful on this Thanksgiving Day. Blessings and peace and love to all of you.
Thank you. It's an important reminder about gratitude, and also it shows us that there are so many ways to love and serve. So thank you once again, Rev Bill McDonald, for joining me, and I'm wishing you and everybody listening a very happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to BEYONDwithHeatherTesch to look for more episodes.